The main idea was to reach a broader audience, people who don't necessarily read science books. Even though my previous books, they were quite popular and written in an engaging and easy style, still they were traditional science books, and many people don't read these. And it's important, especially today, for everybody to have a scientific understanding of the world. We experimented in new ways of writing science, new ways of teaching science. So it's not just the use of images, but it was actually a lot of fun for me to do all these experiments. Like one chapter in the new book, it's told in the style of superhero movies. So to explain the human superpower of telling stories in order to unite large numbers of people, that's our secret. That's our superpower as humans. We rule the world because we can use stories to unite a lot of people in one nation or one religion or something like that. So to explain this, we created this character of Dr. Fiction, and she's a superhero, and she personifies this ability to create fictional stories and use them to unite people. In another chapter, we use the genre of detective movies. We have another character, Detective Lopez. She goes around the planet investigating the worst serial killers in history, who were responsible for the extermination of maybe 50% of the large land mammals, large land animals, like the mammoth and the mastodons and the giant kangaroos and things. They all disappeared as humans spread around the world. And of course, humans are these serial killers who killed all these animals. So instead of explaining this in the usual scientific way, you know, with statistics and details and so forth, we tell a story, a detective story. It's still science. We don't invent anything. I mean, of course, we invent the fictional character given is all scientific, but the method is new. And I hope it will reach a wider audience this way. I mean, you know, with a lot of jokes and it's funny, but the material is serious. When you talk about some of the biggest ecological disasters in history, like this extermination of all the large animals, this is very serious stuff. But we explain it, we tell it in such a way that we hope any curious 15-year-old teenager would not just be interested, but would actually find it fun to read this book. But it's not just teenagers. If somebody is 90 years old and wants to read about the history of humankind, how we came to rule this planet, so we are also thinking about people in their 90s. I worked, it's not just my creation, I worked with two very talented artists, Daniel and David, about developing the plot and of course the drawings. I can't draw anything. So to give one more example, when we talk about the evolution of different human species, we tell it like a reality TV show, that you have contestants in a TV show, in a reality show, and one by one they get knocked out until the winner is Homo sapiens, our species. So we rely on this kind of TV style. And maybe the most surprising thing for me was that once you start using images, you have to deal with questions that with words you can simply ignore. For instance, when I wrote about the discovery of fire, so I could just write, humans discovered how to use fire. When we draw it, when Daniel draws the image, the first human learning how to use fire, he needs to make a decision how to draw this human. Is it a man or a woman? Is he or she white or black, old or young? Again, in words, I can just avoid the question. I can just say humans discovered fire. But to draw, you need to answer these questions. So one person might imagine that fire was discovered by an old white man. But then somebody else would say, why an old white man? Why not a young black girl? Why not? And then you have to go to the scientific literature and start reading. What do we know about gender roles hundreds of thousands of years ago? What do we know about skin color and how people looked hundreds of thousands of years ago? To decide how this simple thing, just how to draw this image of the first human using fire. And like this, almost every scene raised these new questions that previously I hardly even thought about.